Hey, what's going on, guys? Tonight I am making my fourth video, and this is coming out tomorrow on the 4th. So, today's July 3rd, it's coming out July 4th. And I wanted to talk about what happens when isolation and silence becomes your best friend, um, and when you baptize yourself in isolation and in numbness. So, back when I was growing up, I didn't have any friends. I spent 10 years away from people. Um, I always spent time with my parents, but as for like peers, that didn't happen. I never went to school, and I think after a while, when you adapt to the isolation, the numbness, you never getting any attention from anyone. The lack of female attention is negative, and because of that, you tend to succumb to it. There's nowhere else to go but deeper into darkness, and that's what happened to me. So, one time I had this dream where I was standing at a cliff and there was a sea of blackness, and I jumped in. In the dream, I jumped in, and sorry, when I jumped in, I remember there being a sense of calmness when it came to me not having any friends, me not talking to people, anything like that. I remember the day before I had that dream, and I remember how isolated I was. I remember how I wasn't communicating. I was having these bad panic attacks. I didn't want to be outside. I just wanted to be sitting in my room or away from people. Like I had to be away from people, and my parents were a little bit concerned. But that dream I had, I personally feel that it was my time to be baptized in the silence and into the blackness, as they say, the black pill. Even back, this is back when I was a teenager, so this is like early 2000s. I didn't know what it was, but now looking back 20 years later, I'm like, okay, I see what this was. Um, yeah, so I had that dream where I jumped in the sea of darkness, and it was like Goku falling into a spirit bomb. That's basically what it was, and it was this darkness, and I remember, well, I remember being like calm as I let the blackness enter my system. It was like black goo, and I remember letting it enter my system. And I just said it's okay to not care about friends and family and having people and friendship. It's okay. You don't have to care. You don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. I'm here for you. But I knew it was like me that was saying all this stuff. That it wasn't like another personality. It wasn't a clone of me. The darkness wasn't talking to me. It was just me talking to me. If that makes sense, just me. And I when I woke up, I felt completely calm. I felt good. I felt like a barrier had been eliminated. A barrier had been lifted. I really felt like everything was going to be okay for my life. Now, of course, I denied that feeling, and I just back when 2002, 2003, I tried to make myself care. I tried to make myself feel things again, and that's what messed me up. That's why you got classics like I got rejected by 300 women, and the last girl broke me in half. And now I've come full circle again at near 40, saying I'm never gonna put any hope in anything ever again other than my Bible and my faith. That's it. I will never have friends again. I will never try to socialize with people ever again. I will never leave my house unless if I'm dragged out of it and shot in the head. That's it. I don't have any reason to try to hope for anything anymore. That's how bad it got. That's how bad it is for a lot of guys like me because um, I found myself by myself when I was younger, and when I accepted that, I felt fine. And then all of a sudden, it was other outside forces trying to make me believe I needed someone, trying to make me believe I needed other things of validation. And when I let that crap enter my mind, I started having problems. I started having problems. I started to, you know, try to get out there, and I got destroyed 300 times. 300, not 10, not 8, not even 50. 300 times. I talked to 300 women, and it was just a mess. It was all a mess. I've talked about the most brutal rejections I've ever received. That is a part of the 300 rejections that I received. The top rejections I've ever received in my life, all by women. You know, I tried. I tried. And it got me nowhere. It got me nowhere but mauled by everyone, and it makes no sense. It makes no sense. So that's pretty much it. So I find myself by myself again 20 years later, and this time I'm not coming back out. I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm going to let the isolation and let the numbness just just doused in me, like baptize myself in nothingness, in the void, and completely have nothing. Like I'm closing my eyes and I'm saying this, and you can kind of tell I'm kind of discombobulated right now because the way how the amount of contentment that I was in when I was younger, no friends, no nothing, solitary confinement. I was so happy. It was bliss. I almost didn't mind my future. And then I let other outside forces, mainly my parents, talk me into talking to people, and it messed me up. I should have never approached 300 women. What was I thinking? Anyway, that's pretty much it. I just need to absorb the black pillness, and I need to absorb what I really am and how I really am, and I need to baptize myself in it and just serve God. And then when it's time for me to get out of here, it's time for me to check out. That's it. And that's all I wanted to say. This is coming out July 4th, so hopefully you guys can enjoy everything. I updated my list. I have about 130 topics that I'm going to talk about, and it's all around this realm of content. So 130 topics with no script. I don't use a script. I just talk out of my dome, and hopefully you guys can enjoy this onslaught of videos. So with that, I will say goodbye. Happy July 4th.